So it all comes down to this. The Intercontinental playoff between Australia and Peru. Who will get one of the last two spots at this year's World Cup? Will it be Australia, who are going for their 5th straight World Cup appearance, or will it be Peru, who are going for back-to-back appearances? And if that happens, Ricardo Gareca deserves a statue. Here's the match preview between Australia and Peru. Before we get to the prediction, we got to talk about both teams, their path to this match, and how the lineups are going to be looking like. And tactically, how will maybe both teams approach this game. So let's start off with Australia. Fresh in the minds of everyone as they just beat the UAE 2-1 in a game that was very cagey and at times very sloppy from both teams. While Australia did pick up the 2-1 victory, they weren't the greatest in the first half. You could argue the UAE kept constantly getting down the right side of Australia and created 2 fantastic chances. Had it been another team who were more clinical, Australia could have been 2-0 down after the first half. But they regained confidence and they got 2 goals from 2 unlikely sources. First, they got a goal from Jackson Irvine, who does get goals but is very rare in getting the goals. And then, of course, Aydin Hrustrik from Eintracht Frankfurt. So the 2 midfielders scored. Does that bode well for this game? Let's find out. Well, Graham Arnold can take some positives heading into the match. They played some good football in the second half. Yes, they gave up the goal quite early after they scored their own goal. So that is something. The mentality has to be there for Australia. You cannot switch off against Peru. If you switch off against Peru, okay, it is fine doing it against the UAE where you give up a couple chances and they don't be clinical enough. And yes, they got the 1 goal. Against Peru, that's a different story because they have strikers and they have wingers who can get goals. Once again, Australia are going to need a big performance from Aramoy. The guy is a fantastic midfielder, and of course, let's see who the winger is going to be. Mabil was on the bench. Should he have started instead of Goodwin? That's maybe a decision that Graham Arnold needs to see because Peru are going to push forward and they like to get bodies forward. So maybe Mabil can use with the counterattack his pace, and obviously he's clinical enough. He's clinical enough, so let's see if Mabil starts the game. I still think it will be Leckie up front. Maybe Boyle right wing. Let's see, these are the decisions that Graham Arnold needs to make, and they are big ones, especially with 1 game playoff. But when you have a keeper like Matty Ryan, an excellent keeper who can save maybe 8 shots and won't concede, he's going to have to be on top of his game to keep Lapadula and Carrillo quiet in this matchup. I've gone far enough discussing about Australia's path to the AFC 4th round match against the UAE in the previous video for the prediction between UAE and Australia, so I won't go through much of their path. But to summarize it, it's been a bit frustrating, to say the least. Some good performances, some lackluster performances, some really poor performances. So Australia just have to keep it together for 90 minutes. Everything's on the line right now. Graham Arnold's job is on the line. I think the players, they'll still be around. But will the manager be? That is the biggest talking point heading into this game as well. Will Graham Arnold, if he loses, be in the job? Time will tell, but best of luck to the Socceroos. Now we move on to Peru, a team I haven't talked about in quite a while, and it's always exciting to talk about Los Incas. Peru, man, they did the same exact thing as the 2018 World Cup qualifiers. Dreadful at the beginning in CONMEBOL, and then just started picking up form. This time around, they had to wait till match day 6 to get their first victory. They only had 1 point before match day 6, and they finally got it, a 2-1 win away at Ecuador. In the final 4 matches, a massive game in Colombia against Colombia. A draw would have been enough, but they got the 3 points, and that was truly the turning point in Peru's campaign. Had they lost the match, it would have been difficult to see them make it to this Intercontinental playoff match. But they got the victory, they got the draw against Ecuador. Controversial loss against Uruguay, we're not going to speak about that. And then they picked up, on the final match day, a 2-0 victory over Paraguay, and they made it to the Intercontinental playoff. So let's talk about the squad. And maybe even Ricardo Gareca. What an absolute... Ricardo Gareca, people don't understand. Peru, if you look at their squad, and you compare it to Colombia, you compare it to Chile, you compare it to even maybe Paraguay, this squad should not be getting anywhere near the World Cup. But they play as a unit, and they play with spirit. And that is the definition of international football. And Ricardo Gareca is just a genius. Okay, sometimes they're going to sit back and absorb the pressure. Sometimes they'll take the game to the opponent. Sometimes they're absolutely fantastic in transition. Peru can play in a multitude of ways. And that's why I appreciate what Ricardo Gareca is doing. Especially with Farfan and Paulo Guerrero not being involved with the squad as much. They're looking at the likes of Lapadula. What a player. He's been vital for Peru in the last couple of years, especially when he made his debut for the Copa America last summer. You look at Flores and Cueva out wide, and of course in the midfield you have Yotun, Tapia, and obviously Peña. These guys are important, especially Tapia. Tapia is the kind of the glue, right? He's the transition guy, moving the ball well. And of course, out wide, right back, Advancula. This guy is a machine. Anytime you watch a Peru game, he is bombing forward, he is tracking back. Advancula is all over the place. Of course, you have the leadership of Zambrano and Galeses, who's a very underrated keeper in my opinion. So the key for Peru in this game, you're gonna be frustrated at times, and it is 90 minutes. Only one game. That's it. So you have to take the game to Australia. You can't leave yourself so exposed at the back. If you do that, Australia have some players that can hurt you. But I like the way this side plays. And I feel like if they go into the 1-0 lead, it's over. I can't say the same about Australia, because they've had a couple leads during these World Cup qualifiers, and it hasn't been the greatest. So I just love the job that Ricardo Gareca is doing. This guy is an absolute genius. The players he has, the options. You look at Flores and Carrillo, who can come off the bench as well. They have so many players. Nobody really respects Peru when it comes to international tournaments. They were fantastic in 2018 World Cup. I thought they were unfortunate not to get a victory over either Denmark or France, but that's football sometimes. At least they got the victory over Australia, and that's something they have to be careful about. Some of the players from Australia were at the last World Cup, and they're going to want revenge, and they're going to want to qualify. So Peru have to come into this game ready. Obviously, they had a friendly over New Zealand, a 1-0 victory. Doesn't really matter. They were just kind of warming up in a training session, so I'm not going to read too much into the game. But Peru have to come into this game on fire. Now time for the prediction. It's a tough one. If I had to balance it, I would say 60% Peru are favorites and 40% for Australia. That's just how I see this game. If Peru go into a 1-0 lead, I think the game is over. I just don't see then how Australia can get back into the game. Yes, they might have some chances, but it's going to be difficult. And then if Australia go in a 1-0 lead, I can't trust it. They've shown they can give up a lead to UAE. Obviously, they won the game, but they had a 1-0 lead. They've had a couple leads, obviously against Oman. They gave up the late goal. So Australia are not the greatest at the back. And mentally, are they the strongest as well with the lead? So I think the key for Australia is, if you get one, go for two. Kill the game off. Kill the game off. That's the way you're going to win this game. This is going to be a cagey game. You know, both teams are going to have to feel each other out for the first maybe 30 minutes, 20 minutes. Maybe Peru will come out firing in the first 20 minutes, try and get that early goal, establish a lead. Maybe Australia will kind of sit back. Who knows? It's very up in the air how both teams are going to approach the game. But I feel like Peru will want to take the game, especially Ricardo Gareca understands that, all right, we got 90 minutes, get the early goal, we're going to be fine. So, my prediction for the game is, I think Peru are going to win. It's not going to be a blowout. It's not going to be easy. I'm going to go Peru 2-1. I think they're going to take a 2-0 lead in the match, and then Australia will get a late consolation goal. This is no disrespect to Australia and obviously all the Socceroo fans out there. I just cannot trust Graham Arnold. I just see the performances against Japan, Oman, Vietnam. It's not been great. Creativity-wise, it hasn't been good. They have some good players. They can definitely win the midfield battle, Australia. But will that be enough in this game? So I'm going Peru 2-1 and qualifying to back-to-back World Cups. So there's my prediction. I think Peru will be making it to back-to-back World Cups. And Ricardo Gareca deserves a statue in Lima. If Graham Arnold loses, he's sacked. And maybe this is a good wake-up call for Australian football. Not the AFL, I mean Australian Football Association. So let's see what happens. It's going to be a fascinating 90 minutes in Qatar, or could be even more, because we could obviously go to extra time, and who knows, if it goes down to penalties, oh boy, that's going to be very nerve-wracking. There will be a watch along for the game, so hopefully you guys all tune in for that. This is everything. This is a ticket to Qatar. They're in Qatar. They can smell it, but they're still 90 minutes away. So join me for the watch along. It's going to be fun and entertaining as always. Remember to hit the like button, give your predictions in the comment section down below. If you're new around here, subscribe to the channel. Remember, you can join my Discord, follow me on Twitter, Instagram. All of those will be in the description down below. And if you want to become a member of the channel, it is only 99 cents and support your guy. But further ado, have a beautiful day. Best of luck to both teams. It's going to be sad that one of them can't make it, but this is World Cup qualifiers. Have a beautiful day. Stay safe, everyone. And adios.